Hello everyone. In this video, we will go over lesson 4.1 on basically graphing functions. So the document here said, what's the input? We have three functions: f of x equals negative 2x minus 3, g of x equals 3x plus 2, and h of x equals 5 minus x. So the directions say graph and label each function on the grid below. You may want to use different colors to distinguish between the three different functions. So graph and label, two things. So let's start by, maybe if we color code these functions, let's go with pink for f of x, orange for g of x, and maybe green for h of x. So let's start with f of x. We have f of x equals negative 2x minus 3. Now this is in the format of f of x equals mx plus b, which we know is the equation of a line, with m being the slope, which is the rise over 1, just a quick review, and b being the y-intercept, which is the point at which the graph, in this case the line, intersects or crosses the y-axis. So for the function f of x, your slope is negative 2 over 1, and your y-intercept is negative 3. So on the y-axis, we start at negative 3, or we start at the y-intercept, and then negative 2 over 1 for the slope means go down to 1 right. Now, 2 points suffice for you to make a line. You could also go up to 1 left, okay? And you can continue this pattern if you feel like you're running out of space or out of room going in the other direction. Once you have 2 points at least, you can connect the dots, and this is your function. So this is f of x. Now, g of x is 3x plus 2. So the slope is 3, or 3 over 1, and the y-intercept is 2. So you start at 2, and then the slope tells you go up 3 and 1 right, and so on. Connect the dots, you will get g of x. And lastly, h of x in green, which is 5 minus x. Now, it's always nice to write a linear equation in the form mx plus b. So I would rearrange this to write it as negative x plus 5, because this helps me see that the slope is negative 1, this negative here is negative 1, or negative 1 over 1, the rise over 1, and the y-intercept is 5. So 5 is the y-intercept, and then go down 1, 1 right, and keep repeating that. You don't have to, again, 2 points are probably sufficient. And this is your line, and this is h of x. Okay, so these are the three lines. Now for number 1, it says part A, use the graph to determine the value, the x value that makes f of x equal to 3. So use the graph. They did not say use algebra. They did not say use anything else. They said use the graph. From the graph, where is f of x equal to 3? Where is the y value equal to 3 for f of x? 3, the value y equals 3 is here. That's y equal to 3. So for me to know which value of x gives me the y value 3 for f, I would have to go draw a horizontal kind of virtual line from 3 that cuts the f of x, the graph of f of x, and then from there I'll draw a vertical line that goes down to the x-axis, and that would determine the corresponding x value. Now, that's how it's done algebraically, and maybe my graph, I'm not sure if my graph, how accurate my graph is. It looks like it's negative 3 point something, It could be -3 because of my graph is not very accurate. But let's see, and then we can confirm. Let's see algebraically. Let's go to part B, and then we can confirm. And then I can adjust my graph. So for part B, it says show how to find this x value algebraically. So if I want to do what I just did from algebra, so here I was supposed to get whatever this value is. And I'm assuming it's not exact. It should be a little bit to the left or to the right. Algebra will confirm that, right? So if we're doing part B, show how to find this x value algebraically, what you would do, you would go to the equation, which is f of x equals to -2x minus 3. And they want you to substitute, they want you basically to find the x value for which f of x is equal to 3. So you take f of x away, and you substitute the value 3 for it, and then you solve. And then you add 3 to both sides. You get -2x is equal to 6. And when you divide by 2, you get 6 over -2, or -6 over 2, which is -3. So yeah, my graph should have been a little bit probably like this. Let me see if I can fix it. Yep, it should have been like this. Okay, so now that's the trick with graphs, is that you never know. And this would have been correct, right? So the value 3 for f of x corresponds to the x value -3, right? Now that's part B. Part number 2a, use the graph to determine the x value that makes f of x equals g of x. This is an important skill here to know. When they say f of x equal to g of x, graphically, that means where f of x and g of x meet, where they cross. So again, when they give you a function equal to another function, on the graph, you're looking for where do they intersect. In this case, where does pink meet orange? And the value is here. The point is here. And they said, use the graph to determine the x value. Which x value corresponds to this? If you map onto the x-axis, it's x equals -1. So you can say x equals -1. And then for part B, show how to find this algebraically. So you just set them equal. When you're talking algebra, you're setting equations, you're involving equations. So in this case, you're making f of x, you want f of x to be algebraically equal to g of x, meaning you're going to put 2x or -2x minus 3, and you're going to set it equal to what? To g of x, which is 3x plus 2, and then solve for x. That means you want to get all the x's on one side, maybe add 2x to both sides here, and then subtract 2 from both sides. So you get -5 equals to 5x, and then when you divide by 5, you get x equals -1. So does this confirm? Yes, it does, because we did have x equals -1. That's the x value for this point of intersection. For number 3, use the graph to determine the x values to make f of x equals to h of x. So same idea. When does, remember, f of x is basically the graph in pink, right? And g of x, or h of x, is the graph in green. So where does green meet pink? When? Now, this may be off the chart, right? It will be, if we continue the graphs, if we continue this trend for these graphs, will be somewhere here maybe. Right? So look where they're going to meet. They're going to meet way back here. And we're looking for the x value here, whatever that is. I mean, I can approximate it as, I don't know, maybe -8, because this is -6, maybe 2 more to the left. I'm assuming this is going to be -8. So I will say graphically here, I will say from the graph, x equals -8. That's when they, but again, this is not a proof, right? This is we'll confirm algebraically. Now, when does g of x equal to h of x? When does g of x, which is the graph in orange, meet the graph in h of x, which is in green? Where do these two things happen? is basically at this point right here. And I'm gonna think that it's 1. I'm assuming. I'm assuming it's x equals to 1. Right? Now let's it says, well, what makes this is a difficult task? Well, the accuracy of the graphs, the accuracy of the graph, of the plot. And you could see that, right? That if I don't graph almost perfectly, then it's challenging. The accuracy of the graph makes this a difficult task. Okay. Can we do this algebraically? Yes, you can set them equal and solve. You can set them equal to each other, and then you can solve. Yeah, I don't know if my value for g of x equals h of x, because algebraically, I think I'll be getting for x equals to -3, x equals like, yeah, that's not accurate. So if I were to do g of x and h of x, right? So if I were to say g of x, which is 3x plus 2, equals to h of x, which is this, then something here is wrong. It will not work out well. I will get 5 minus x, not minus 2. So by adding x to both sides, I get 4x. And by subtracting 2, I get 3. I get x equals 3/4. So x equals 3/4. It's not really at 1. It's a little bit left of 1. You see, algebra always fixes things here. So this is an approximation. This is not correct. The actual, I'm going to put here in parentheses, actual value or exact value is what? ¾ or 0.75. Okay, so this was number 3. Number 4, part A, use algebra to find what it makes. So again, what we just talked about. We're going to use algebra to see when is f of x equal to g of h of x in this case. So we're going to set them algebraically to be equal to each other. F of x is -2x minus 3, and that one, we want that to be equal to 5 minus x. Now you can add 2x to both sides. That means the x's will be on the right, and subtract 5 from each side. So you get -8 equals to x. And let's see. Yeah, so f of x and h of x are equal when x is equal to -8. So we got this, right? That checked. This makes sense on the graph. So this is, yes, it does make sense on the graph. Now for part B, use algebra to find what makes g of x equal to h of x. So we want to set these to be equal algebraically. So now we're going to say 3x plus 2, and I did this really here, right? 3x plus 2 equals 3x plus 2 equals to 5 minus x. So by adding x to both sides, you're adding x to both sides. Now remember, when you add x to both sides, that means all the x's are going to be on the left. That means you're also going to subtract 2 from each side. So you get 4x equals to 3, x equals what? 3/4. You just solve for it. Does this make sense? It does. I mean, initially, graphically, we were close to 1, but then we said it may be a little bit to the left, right? So it's really not exactly at 1. This value here, this point, is a little bit shy of 1. It's about a quarter way to the left. So yes, it does make sense. All right. So please make sure you write this down and document this information in your notes. And we'll move on to the next page. So with this being said, Page 2, we have 4 functions. For part number 5, it says determine. Well, first it says use the functions above to solve the problems below. So number 5, determine the value of x if f of x is equal to negative 30. Again, we're going to substitute f of x by negative for negative 30. So you get negative 30 equals negative 3 times 2x plus 4. Okay, when they say f of x, when they give you a value for the function, you take that value and you plug it in for the given function, in this case f of x. And then you can see that the only variable that is missing here is x. And now you distribute. You get negative 30 equals negative 6x minus 12. And then by adding 12 to both sides, you get negative 18 equals to negative 6x. And by dividing both sides by negative 6, you get x equals to positive 3. Let's say you're not certain of your answer. What can you do? What can you do? Think about it for a moment. If the answer is I take 3 and the value of 3 and plug it in here and see if that will give me negative 30, then you are correct. So think about it. If you plug in 3 for x, you get 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 plus 4, you know, remember you're doing PEMDAS, right? Parentheses explain. 6 plus 4 is 10. This will be 10 multiplied by negative 3, which is what? Negative 30. It does work. So for part or number 6, determine the value of x if g of x equals negative 114. So again, you can say 7x plus 19 equals negative 114 as g of x, or vice versa. You can flip them. Subtract 19, you get 7x equals to negative 133, I believe. And then to get x by itself, or isolate x, you divide by 7, you get x equals negative, it's negative or positive, and 13 divided by 7 is 1. Here, 13 minus 7 basically is 6, and then bring down this 3 is 63, so that would be 9, negative 19. Again, you want to check your work. Plug in negative 19 into x here for g, or into for x in g basically, and that should check out. You get negative 7 times negative 19 is basically negative 143 plus 19 will give you, or negative 133 plus 19 will give you 100 and negative 114. So that does work. For number 7, determine the value of x if k of x is for third. That's a third. So again, you're going to replace k of x by 4/3. You get 4/3 equals 2x plus 4 all over 3. Now here, a good trick, what you can do, since both of them have fractions and they're both divided by 3, you can multiply both sides by 3. You're allowed to do that. When you multiply one side by a number by value, you're allowed to multiply you have to multiply the other side by the same number to keep the balance of the equation. So this gives you 4 equals 2x plus 4. And then by subtracting 4 from each side, you get 2x equal to 0 or 0 equal to 2x, which means x is equal to 0. Okay, so again, if you forget that, just divide both sides by 2, you get x equal to 0. Now, if you plug in 0, let's say you take this value 0 and plug it into here, in for x, you'll get 2 times 0, which is 0. And what is that? 4 over 3 right here, 4/3, your answer. Okay. So this is a good way to verify quickly and guarantee a correct answer. Number 8, at what input? Again, when they say at what input, that means they're looking for an x value. When is f of x equals to h of x? F of x is equal to negative 3 times 2x plus 4. And that's, we want that to be equal to 7 minus 5x. And basically, you get negative 6x by distributing, you get negative 6x minus 12 is equal to 7 minus 5x. And then by adding 6x to both sides, you get negative 12 equals to 7 plus x. And then by subtracting 7 from both sides, you get, I'll write the answer here, you get negative 19 equal to x, or x equals what? Negative 19. So this is the value for which f of x is equal to h of k of x. No, sorry, h of x. Now, double checking, negative 6x minus 12, 7 minus 5x. You get x equals negative 9. That is correct. All right, for number 9, at what input is g of x equal? So when are g and h equal to each other? Right? You're gonna set them to be equal to each other. 7x plus 19. That's g of x equals to what? Equals to h of x. 7 minus 5x. So when they say at what input, that means give me the x value. Find me the x value for which these two would be equal. Right? That means tell me when their graphs meet, but I don't want the x and y values of this point. I want the x values of this point where they meet. So here, you're adding 5x to both sides. You're getting 12x plus 19 is equal to 7. And then by subtracting 19 from each side, you get 12x is equal to negative 12. And therefore, by dividing by 12, both sides by 12, you get x equals negative 1. Okay, so this is 9. Number 10, determine the x value for that makes f of x equals g of x. So again, f of x and g of x, you're going to make them equal. So when I say you're going to make them equal, again, you're making the right-hand side where the equation is, right, of f of x equal what to the right-hand side of g of x. That's what you're doing. So you're saying, again, negative 3 multiplied by quantity 2x plus 4 is equal to 7x plus 19. And here, by distributing, you get negative 6x minus 12 equals 7x plus 19. I'm going to add 6x to both sides. 6x. This gives me a negative 12 equals 13x plus 19. And then by subtracting 19 from both sides. Something doesn't sound right. When the numbers are not divisible, I'm always double checking. Let me see if there's a minus. So negative 6x minus 12, 13x minus 19. No, that looks right. So you're gonna get, 13x equals to negative 31. This cancels, right? And therefore x equals negative 31 over 13. Okay, so this is number 10. Number 11, we determine the value that makes f of x equals k of x. So you're making f of x equals k of x, these two equal. So again, you're doing negative 3 multiplied by 2x plus 4. You're setting that to be equal to 2x plus 4 over 3. All right. So here, I mean, I can kind of see a solution here, but you can do the same thing. You can multiply both sides by 3. Or you can do, if you remember the cross product, right? This times this equals this times that. Cross product, you can do that. So you can do this times this, which is going to give you negative 9 multiplied by 2x plus 4 equals 1 multiplied by 2x plus 4. Now, when will this happen? The shortcut to that is that when 2x plus 4 equal to 0. But if you don't remember, just distribute. You'll get negative 18x minus 36 equals 2x plus 4. 1 times 2x is 2x, and 1 times 4 is 4. Here I distributed also. So by then adding 18x to both sides and basically subtracting 4, you'll get 20x. 20x equals what? Equals negative 40, which is when dividing by 20, you get x equals what? Negative 2. Okay, you can plug in and check. And lastly on this page, determine what x values makes h of x equal to k of x. So h of x, we want 7 minus 5x to be equal to k of x, which is 2x plus 4 over 3. And you can do the cross product here, right? You can do this times this equals this. By doing the cross product, you get 3 times 7 is 21 minus 3 times 5 is 15x And then 1 times 2x plus 4 is 2x plus 4. And then you can, let's say, add 15x to both sides, right? That helps us move the x's to the right. But then we would need to move the numbers to the left. Okay, remember, if x is on one side, the numbers are on the other side, the constants, right? So here you get 21 minus 4 is 17. And on here you get 17x. If you divide by 17, you get x equals 1. Now let's say you're not certain your answer is correct. You're not sure. Well, take that value, plug it in here. All right, plug it in here. 7 minus 5 times 1, that's 7 minus 5, which is 2. 2 times 2 times 1 plus 4 is 2 plus 4, which is 6 divided by 3 is 2. So it does work, okay? There's always a way to check your work. There's always a way to check your work algebraically. So this is the second page of the lesson. Let's move on. Make sure you pause, review. And then page number 3. APR R squared, okay, so API R squared mini mystery. Who killed Miss X? Solve each equation below, then use your solutions to eliminate the suspects and solve the mystery. So for number 1, we have, I'm going to do them here. We have 7 plus 5 multiplied by quantity x minus 2 equals to 12. So maybe what I would suggest before I go into this, maybe try it on your own and then pause the video and wait a few minutes and then just get the work done and then see if you can get it done on your own. And then maybe it'll take you about 10 minutes or so. And then watch the video and see if my answers and your answers align, if they're, if your answers and mine are the same. And that would be a good way for you to practice as well, right? And see if you can produce these answers from scratch, from the beginning without any help. So I always recommend that you do that and practice, especially now that you have some information about how to proceed. So you may pause the video, or you can continue to watch, or maybe just use as much or as little guidance as you need. So do that, feel free to do that. Yeah, so basically for number 1, this is what we have. Let's solve it. 7 plus, this is 7 plus, distribute the 5 in. You get 7 plus 5x minus 10 equals to 12. And combine like terms, 7 minus 10 is negative 3 plus 5x equals to 12. And then add 3 to both sides. You get 5x equals to 15. Therefore, by dividing by 5, both sides by 5, you get x equals to 3. So the first answer is x equal to 3. Now we go to the answers and see which one is 3. Right? Which one is 3? 3, if you go all the way here, x equal to 3 is dining room. So check that. Or it says use your solution to eliminate. So our solutions eliminate. So it's not the dining room. Right? Okay. Then for number 2, this is 4 multiplied by quantity x minus 12 plus 19 is equal to negative 89. So you get 4x by distributing, you get 4 times x is 4x minus, copy the minus down, 4 times 12 is 48 plus 19 equals negative 89. 4x, negative 48 plus 19 is negative 29. And that's equal to negative 89. And then add 29 to both sides. You get 4x is equal to 118. So by dividing by 4, you get x equals 2 is 838. I don't know if it's going to be a fraction. Let me double check for x minus 18 plus 19. For x minus 48, negative 29. at 29, that's going to be 118. Yeah, divided by 4. 2 times 4 is 838. That doesn't go evenly into it, and I don't see any fractions. All the numbers that I see here are whole numbers. Okay, let's try again. Maybe something happened. So let me double check the equation is correct. For quantity x minus 12 plus 19. Yep. So I can do this way, or let's try see if I can subtract first. This helps. So you get 4 multiplied by x minus 2 equal the procedure are all going to lead to the same answer, right? So negative 89 minus 19, this is negative 108. Okay, and then you can either distribute or you can divide both sides by 4. So this gives you x minus 2. Okay, I see what happened. This is going to be negative 27. So then by adding 2 to both sides, you get x equals negative 25. Negative 25 is do we have negative 25? We don't have that. So again, 4x minus 19, negative 108 divided by 4, 2, 4, 8, 7, 28, negative 25. Oh, that was minus 12. There you go. You see the mistake. When the number doesn't show, there's a red flag. So this is not plus 2, but plus 12. I do apologize. That's been the mistake. So this is negative 27. That was correct. So now it's plus 12. I copied. You see here, my mistake was, look, it's a learning moment. So my mistake is that if you go back, if I undo this, look, my writing caused me to make this mistake. This to me looked like plus 2 because I did not separate the digit from the sign, right? So basically, this should have been minus 12. That's what it's always been. So I should have be clearly here minus and then separate that 12. So now you add 12 to both sides. There you go. And you get x equals negative 15. All right, so negative 15 is also going to be eliminated, which is here. Okay, so you continue to do this in this fashion. Try to continue to do this in this fashion. Maybe I can help you with a couple more, and then I'll let you figure that out and maybe spend the rest of, well, not necessarily the rest of class, but maybe spend the next 10 minutes or so working on this. And that way we can check and solve this mystery next time. But let me do one more. Let's say number 3, 7x, and then I'll jump quickly to homework. Plus 3 times x plus 3 times 4x minus 8 equals 109, right? So here you're going to distribute the 3 into this 4x and negative 8. You get 12x minus 24 equals 109. And then by combining like terms, 7x and 12x are like terms, so that's 19x. Just be careful. You can only combine the x's together, and then the constants, which are the numbers together, right? And you cannot combine x's and numbers, right? So just be super careful with that. Minus 24, that is brought down, equals to 109. And then you add 24. Excuse me. You add 24 to both sides, and you get 19x equals 133, I believe. And then to get x by itself, you divide by 19. You get x equals to 7. So 7 is also omitted. So 7, anywhere you see 7, Miss Wright or Mrs. Wright, that's gone. This was gone too, and this is gone. All right, so continue in this fashion and solve the mystery, and then answer, right? It was who, with what, and in where, right? So this is page number 3. And since you probably have time, now you may pause here and continue this later as part of your homework, or you can spend the next few minutes and finish it and just solve the mystery and we can share next time. But I wanted to go to the next page and start on homework. I want to give you some guidance on homework, at least get you going on homework, and then you can take it from there as well. For 4.1 homework, the first question says, a club is selling Valentine grams for Valentine's Day. They purchase the flowers for $1 each, plus $16 delivery fee or delivery charge. Write the function rule for their total cost depending on the number of flowers. So C of x, right? I'm writing C of x, this should go here, right? C of x equals. So remember, there's something fixed, there's a fixed cost, which is what? Which is the delivery charge. That doesn't change, it will be $16. That fixed cost, remember when we talked about y equals mx plus b, the fixed cost is your y-intercept, is b. This is your fixed cost or initial value. So here you have something x plus 16. That something x, this is the slope x, mx. The slope is the cost per item. So in this case, it's the cost per flower, and it's $1 per flower. So it's 1x plus 16, or we can simply say x plus 16. So the answer here should be what? X plus 16. And remember, when you don't have a number in front of x, or it should be left of x here to the left of x, that's a hidden one, right? It's 1, slope is 1. That's $1 per flower. Okay, so then next part B is they will sell, or they sell the Valentine grams for $3 each. Write the function rule for their total sales depending on the number of flowers. So if they sell the Valentine grams for $3 each, this is S for sales, right? Notice they sell S of x. A cost, right? A cost C of x. So if they do sell for 3, that's your slope. So you would say it's just 3x, right? So now it says part D or C. When is C of x equal to S of x? How much do they need to see that to break even? Should be to sell, not to see. Okay, so let's graph these. So here's what we have, just to help you understand the context of this question. You have a line that represents, right, buying and or the cost, right? This line, let's say, represents cost. We're going to graph it soon. You have a line that represents selling, and then we're saying, where do they break even, right? So let's see graphically what this looks like. I'm going to use 2 different colors. For the purchase, I'm going to use orange, and for the sale, I'm going to use green, right? So the equation for purchase, we said it's C of x equals x plus 16. So you're going to start at 16, which is right here. Just be careful with the scale. The scale on the y-axis goes by 1, and the scale on the x-axis also goes by 1, but different. So this is 1, really, 2, 3, 4, right? So here we start at 16, and then the slope is 1, right? It's a hidden 1, so it's 1 over 1. So that means from 16, you rise up 1, 1 right, up 1, 1 right, up 1, 1 right, and so on, right? You can continue in this fashion. The reason I put quite a few dots here is just for my line to be accurate. Now notice your graph, because this is cost, you're not going to get cost in the negatives, right? So you really have like a line that starts here from 0 and on. In this context, you don't have anything in the negatives, right? So it's more of like a array than a line. Now that's so this is basically C of x, right? That's C of x, line representing C of x. For S of x in green, you start it's 3x, so it's 3x plus 0, and so there's no y-intercept. You start here at 0, right? You don't sell, you don't make money, and then your slope is 3 or 3 over 1. So from 0, you go 1, 2, 3, 1 right. Again, you don't have a y-intercept, and if you don't have a y-intercept, your y-intercept is 0. So, and then your slope is 3. So from 0, 0, the origin, you go 3 up, 1 right, 3 up, one right, etc. Okay. And so on. I just would like to know to see where they meet. 3 up, 1 right here. They meet at this point. So again, this is where, this is what S of X is going to look like. And then the question says, when is C of X? When are they equal? Well, they're equal. I'm just going to show this in Loglit right here, right? They're equal right here. Which value does this correspond to? It corresponds to, if you just project vertically down onto the x-axis, it corresponds to 8 flowers, right? So it says, when does C of X equals? The answer to that would be what? C of X, you can say C of X is equal to S of X for X equals 8. That means when the cost to sell 8 flowers is going to be the same as the cost to purchase 8 flowers is going to be the same as the amount. And let's see, the sales, right? The cost, I think they're not clear. I think the amount they make for selling, right? So that's when they break even, right? It costs them $8 to make. They also make $8, so they break even. So how much do they need to sell to break even? They need to sell 8 flowers in order to break even. Okay, now solve algebraically. This we just solved. This is what this here. We just solved what? We just solved graphically. Solved graphically, that means we found the point of intersection. We find the x value that corresponds to the point of intersection where they meet. Solve algebraically means set the equations equal to each other. So we're going to say C of X equals to S of X, and then write their equations. C of X was X plus 16. S of X was 3X. And then we solve. How do we solve? We solve by isolating X. All the X's on one side, all the numbers on the other side. So here, I subtract X from both sides. I get 16 equal to 2X, or 2X equal to 16 by the commutative property. And then divide both sides by 2, you get X equals 8. Which is exactly what we got. We got this, graphically. We got X equals 8 graphically. And now we're getting X equals to 8 what? How? Algebraically. Using algebra, okay? So that's the difference, okay, between solving graphically, which means graph both lines and see where they meet, versus solve algebraically, which means set the equations equal to each other and find the value, the corresponding, or the value of X that makes that true, makes them equal to each other, right? So this is really the first page, I believe, of your homework, and I'll let you kind of do the second page, and don't forget to solve the mystery as well. This was today's video. Please make sure you finish this lesson. Between class and home, you should not have a lot left, because I know you have time left in class to finish the work. I will see you, hopefully, I will see you next time, and have a great rest of the day.